Good morning, Burma 1944! And you are here for a quick discussion of opening moves in Nemesis. This is a great game. It's from Legion War Games. Kim Kanger, one of my favorite designers, and a pretty cool dude, too. He's got great sunglasses. We are going to take a quick look at this wonderful game. We've actually been doing a deep dive on the Area 21 website. If you haven't seen that, you probably want to give that a look if you get a chance. Let's move this in just a little bit more. There we go. I have done, this is a video I'm doing because I think it's worthwhile to understand how um, that initial move for the Japanese, especially in the western part of the theater near Imphal, is going to be really, 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 really important. They have a couple of turns of good weather, and after that, it's basically the British trying to push them out. There are all sorts of different openings you can have in this game, but if you're going to threaten Imphal at all, you've really pretty much got to do this. Okay, so what is the important parts here? I'm not going to go into a lot of how this game works. I figure if you're watching this, you've probably seen my deep dive. If you haven't, go check out area21.site. That's 21 is the numbers, area is the letters. And you will see that I have a whole bunch of stuff on this that I've been doing in conjunction, not intentionally, but it ended up that way, with the designer, Kim, who's been helping a lot with like noting things, and he's been very, it's sort of like a flying designer notes, which has been pretty cool. Anyway, we're doing that through the end of April, so if you're interested in that, by all means, go check that out, area21.site. Okay, so we have a few things that we got to do as the Japanese. First off, let's worry about this by division. We've got 3 divisions. This is the 31st, these guys with green. This is pretty close to a full division. You're missing a guy over here, and then one of his battalions is over here. So those 3 regiments have been split up into the battalion and the reduced regiment here. Below that, we've got the International Army, which is their nationalist army taken from Indian nationals who, we're using that word a lot, who were in Burma and Singapore and Malaysia and got captured by the Japanese, and Japanese said, hey, you hate being British subjects? And they say, yeah, we do. And they say, how'd you like to be Japanese subjects? And say, well, we're not so sure about that, but we can at least make India independent. And they said, sure, cough. And so they formed up these 3 really remarkably crappy units. They're probably best as a picket, even though the idea was they would go wandering into India and the entire population would revolt. We also have the 15th, which is broken up all over the place, and you can see that this is also missing a regiment. There's only 2 of the 3 there. One's over here in reduced form, and then the battalion's up here. They do have a little bit of arty and engineering, so do these guys, which makes sense because tanks aren't going to be any good up here. They also each have an HQ, their divisional HQ, and also a mule for doing supply. And especially up here, we're going to need that stuff badly. Their big job is going to be to try to start pushing through Satong and heading for Imphal, which is the source of all the stuff that the Japanese want. And then down in the south here, we've got the 3 regiments of the 33rd Division. You can see that one of their battalions is also broken out. They have a little bit of a challenge here because they've got 3 motorized units and a lot of rough terrain. So we can't end a phase with more than one of those red movements on a road that isn't clear, or a track that isn't clear. The whites are the tracks, grays are the roads, reds are the combined railroads. And then we've also got this nice artillery unit. So only one of those is going to be any place at a given time. You'll also notice we've got these guys who are actually, that guy should be here, who's over ready to push forward. He is in supply, believe it or not. Kalewa throws 5 hexes or 5 movement points. 1/2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This dude does not put out a zone of control in any of those spots, and it doesn't matter anyway because the only thing you need to worry about with zone of control is your operational stretch. That is going to be important, but not for this. So remember also we only get 3 attacks for this turn. So probably what we're going to do is we're going to bring up some units here, get ready to put some pressure on the the 20th Division British units up here, probably with our big arty. We're bringing one of these guys down here to move along the tracks and pass, although they're very slow. You could get maybe one more guy in there, maybe. Hard to say. The problem is this guy does project in a zone of control here into 0318. So that means that he can go 1, 2, or 1, 1.5, 2.5, 4.5, and then we're pretty much done. So he's not going to be able to get all the way over here to help out. All right, let's put you back, if I can eventually put you back. I'm a Big Mac person, but man, these one-button mice suck, especially in Vassal. Okay, I don't want to spend a huge amount of time going over this, but remember we're only going to get 3 attacks this whole turn, so we want to be very careful about those. I like to kind of pre-designate those. It gives me some sense of where I'm going. I want to put a guy here. This is a little love music apparently in the background that I didn't know was even here. Oh, iTunes, what have you wrought? All right, a little Aladdin Sane to match my Vans. Okay, I like to go after this guy more than these guys. He is a 2-step unit, like almost every large British or really Commonwealth. Almost none of these were actually British units. They're almost all Indian. This is the Indian paratrooper unit, and if you did not know that the Indians had a paratrooper unit, you could be forgiven. I'm really not sure about what other things they did during the war, but man, they were useful here in Ukhrul. They did a good job of holding Ukhrul for a little while to prevent the Japanese advance. They are 3 quality, which is why I want to try to knock them out as soon as possible. They will exert ZOC into all the surrounding hexes as far as operational stretch goes. And operational stretch is a useful thing for the Japanese early. So we're going to make them a focus of our attack. These guys, there's 2 of them, which looks terrible because it's a lot more guys, but they're also 1-steppers. So if they attrit, they're gone. They're just gone. So I think these are almost better to try to keep from, as long as you can get a channel getting up over here so that you can at least block this Kohima Imphal road here, which is the important part, because look, there's no supply coming anywhere. Not a road. That's a national border. It looks like a road, but it's a national border. So there was actually, I think it was in this area, there was actually a way for the British to get across the mountains here, but the Japanese figured that out and kind of stopped them. Okay, so I like to take this guy out. He's one of the ones I like to go after. I also like to go after this guy at Satong. When I say I like, I don't mean that I know what I'm doing. I just mean that I like to do that. And then finally down here, I like to go after this guy for really no reason at all, other than I can get a tank down there, and that's helpful. Okay, so once we know what my 3 attacks are going to be, pretty straightforward. We'll start up in the north. Again, we want to get somebody onto this road, and more important, we need to have them supplied. So, operational stretch, this guy stops operational stretch into those 6 hexes. This guy does not. He doesn't do any. These are all paths. They're not roads or tracks, and quality 2 only extends into roads and tracks. So I can fly by this guy with impunity. So let's take one of our regiments. He's a light troop, so the mountain pass costs 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Legit, because not a zone of control. 7, 8. Hey, look at that. We are where we're supposed to be. Now, the problem is it's a long way from any supply source. Our big ones are at Homelin and Tamanthi. Both, I think, throw 4 or 5 each. Homelin throws, so this is actually the closest one, but even then we're 1, 2, 3, done. So we need to get HQ up to here to help bring that along. And then we will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, he can do this. He's a light troop, and he can operationally stretch, and this guy is not projecting a ZOC into this hex. So from here we go 1, 2, 3, From here we go 3, and it doesn't matter because for supply you don't care about ZOC. You don't care about ZOC for anything aside from operational stretch. I may have said that a few times. 1, 2, 3, right, actually up to here, and then 4 down the path. Supply is also always traced as a light troop. And then, of course, he can hit here easily. So we've got this guy taken care of. Now we can worry about what the other guys are going to do. Remember, with an assault, you're limited to a single... actually, that's not going to work at all, is it? You're limited to a single hex to attack from. We could move this guy here, but then the other guys can't come with because this costs 4 to go in here, and he's a light troop, so he's the only guy that can go on a cliff. So we're going to have to go mountains for 3, 4 down the path. These guys, actually, I take it back. They can't get there at all either because they're not light troops. So it's going to cost them 2 to go along those paths. So I think what we will do instead is I'm going to trust my INA to protect me down there. We're going to bring these guys up to here, and they can get all the way up here. Now, here's the interesting part. They could even attack from here because there's no limit on that. The limit is on, you can use operational stretch, you just can't end in an enemy zone of control. I don't think we'll attack with these guys, but it's kind of nice to have them up there. They can do kind of the cleanup while these 2 big regiments and this guy, once we're a little more secure up here, can come in and block this line here and start working on Kohima. Kohima took a lot of damage during the war. It basically got looted, whereas Imphal, even though they were getting into Imphal, it really walked away more or less intact. We will leave this guy here for now. I don't think it's a big deal. Okay, down in the center section, we just really want to get a bunch of people up here to attack. So let's just bring them straight across the river. They've got that lovely 1 hex move, so all of these can come. Let's bring the HQ with us too, just so we've got it with. And might as well bring the mules. Now, and we're going to have lots of supply. This throws for 5. We're plenty of hexes away. And now we can attack these guys with that big stack. With the INA, this is a little less exciting because, like I've said, they're really mostly good as a buffer force. These guys can just barely get across the river. This guy can come up via here, and now they're sort of shielding this area. And once we get this part all taken care of and that path across the river is no longer a threat, then I feel like this guy here can leave where he is. Incidentally, I'm not dealing with any of the stuff's over here. Not this, not the Chinese. This is just strictly for the eastern or the western side of this map. All right, over here we've got a couple. We talked a little bit about the mechanized being a problem. These guys will probably be the units attacking here. These guys cannot get all the way around. That's a 1, 2. Oh, I take that back. He can get there. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we've got a little bit more units there now. These guys are still useful, but we're going to bring them here. Their thing is again, support. So these mountain paths are going to cost 2. So it'd be 1, 3, 5, and we have entered a zone of control here. So we can't continue operation because even though he is a 2, this is a road or a track, so his ZOC extends into those 2 hexes. They will come. Actually, you know what? They will come down here too, just to be helpful. They can't even go over the cliffs. You can see this is all really nasty terrain. And here's the part that the Allies really didn't see coming, was this guy doing an operational stretch, 4 to get here, 6 to get there. He can't come down here. This is a good unit with a 3, so his operational stretch extends into all the adjacent hexes. Next thing we got to worry about here is getting enough supply. The mule is 3-7, which is legal because he's light. He can go into the cliff, and he's got 8 movement points for his operational stretch. This guy will have no problem getting up there. We'll bring our artillery up here, our remnant up here. These guys cannot stay where they are. This is actually an illegal, I guess, start. I will have 1, 1.5, 2.5, and we will let the other guy hang out there. One other thing I want to do real quick. This part here is a little tricky because of the cliffs. You can't bring a HQ into a cliff because it's not a light unit. Your only light unit, I'm sorry, it's not a light thing. Your only light transporters are your mules. So he can go into the cliff, but these guys can't. It's poor mule stuck up there. All right, so as you know, you can only have one divisional HQ. That's these guys with the colored stripes on top that are throwing supply. But we do have this lovely Army supply unit over here, which can be in the chain as well. I feel you kind of need this here. Once you push this out, but this first little bit, it's really useful to have this thing over here, especially if this guy is going to move, because now you can, you really have a problem with the with getting enough stuff over here so you can start getting supply up this road if anything here is being interdicted at all. So you have to clear out a whole bunch of stuff down here first. And there's not a lot of time. So just for fun, let's bring this HQ down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now he can throw supply a whole lot farther. And we can start focusing on getting supply up to these guys, even though 5 goes a long way on a road. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. That's my opening. I don't know that it's a fantastic opening, but it does a couple of things. It basically starts screening off a few areas that could use some screening off. It starts blocking this off. When the British pull their supply chit, and I'm guessing they're probably going to pull their supply chit before they can actually do much. These guys can run up here and counterattack, but you're leaving Imphal open with nothing between you and this guy. And then down here, the other part is creating a situation where these guys are going to take up the lion's share of air supply. And the thing is, if this is all limited with Imphal, that means that you're going to start losing your supports, and if you've used your supports, you're going to start losing your ability to air supply, and you've still got this guy and this guy, these Chindits sitting off in the Burmese Valley, and they are going to be dependent on air supply. This is an airfield. It does have supply, but it's got no way to throw it. There's no, it acts as a source, but you have to basically be next to it to get it. It's just too far away, and it doesn't help you. So you're going to need 2 more for here, unless you want one of them to be out of supply. So that means you're going to have to get these guys into 2 hexes for sure, which is as much as they can do anyway, but then they're just going to be really crowded, and it's going to be a bit of a mess. So those are and then here the important thing is we want to start pushing here, make this guy get worried about his situation. These are 3-level troops, so they will, if they can get over here, they're going to cut all of this off too, and he'll be in trouble in terms of supply. The British over here, the Commonwealth, really only have an HQ. That's it. Basically what happens is you've got these 2 supply sources at Dimapur and Golagat, and but basically most of the time at this point now the British are going to have 1 or 2 turns of being at limited supply down here, and you can see Imphal can hold out for a while, but the real issue is going to be that they just really rely on their road net in order to get stuff. It's just the critical thing they got to have. As you can see, if throwing out 5 from Imphal is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. These guys are almost too far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these guys are technically would be out of supply anyway, because that only throws supply 5 hexes. Anyway, so you can see why that's important to get all that done. All right, well, this has been Nemesis, Burma 1944. And is that a somewhat decent opening in your pocket, or are you just glad to see me?